there, my darlings, my closet conjurers, my fully out, broom in the front yard types as well. Welcome back to Anonymous Crone, the podcast where we don't ask for permission, we don't water it down, and we definitely don't pretend that our first altar didn't look like a yard sale with intentions. And today, well, that's what we're talking about. Altars, tools, and offerings. Yep, the holy trinity of, what the hell do I do with all this shit once I realize I'm a witch? And why we might be leaving out snacky snacks for spirits like some kind of mystical preschool teacher. Have you ever looked at a beautifully curated altar that's online and thought, dang, mine looks like a thrift store exploded? Don't worry, you're doing it right. Because at some point on this path, we just stop feeling witchy and we just start accumulating things. A candle here, a rock we absolutely did not need, but we already emotionally bonded with. A cup that's no longer just a cup, it's a chalice now, thank you very much. Yes, we're talking about altars, not the aesthetic perfect ones, but the real ones, the ones that grow with you, shift with you, and sometimes collect a little dust because, life. We're going to dig into tools, the athame, the wand, the bell, the things that make you feel powerful, and the history and intention behind them, so you're not just waving objects around hoping for the best. And then we'll get to offerings, the part where we stopped acting like magic is a one-way street and start building that relationship with deities, ancestors, spirits, and yes, the fae, who absolutely have opinions about your snack choices. So all right, settle in, light something that smells a little bit like you've made questionable life choices in a forest before, and let's begin. Let's start at the heart of it all. Altars. Why do we have them, and what are they for? Well, an altar's not about just looking pretty. I know. Pinterest would like a word with you, ma'am. But Pinterest is not your priestess. An altar is a meeting place. It's where the mundane world leans in and whispers to the unseen. It's like a physical anchor for something that is otherwise pretty intangible. Think of it like this. So your mind is powerful, sure. Your intention, even more so. But us humans, we're pretty tactile creatures. We like to touch things, we like to see things, arrange things. An altar gives your intention a physical body. It says, here, this is where the magic happens, right here. Now, depending on your path, that magic might look a little different. A Wiccan altar might be very structured. Representation of the elements like earth, air, fire, water, and spirit in the center. You'll often see the tools laid out in specific directions, a balance of masculine and feminine energy, and a rhythm that follows the wheel of the year. Now, a druid's altar setup might feel more like a shrine to nature itself. You'll see stones, branches, leaves, bones, things that feel like they've been borrowed, not bought. Less rigid, more breathed into existence. A Hellenic or Norse pagan altar might be dedicated to specific deities, specific offerings, statues, symbols, items that say, this space is for you specifically, and I honor you here. Now, a more folky practitioner, like your Appalachian granny witch, your bruja, or your cunning folk, they might not even call it an altar. It might just be a corner of the kitchen, a windowsill, a shelf with a candle on it, a cup, and something that may have just belonged to someone who knew things. And in Discordianism, the chaos witches, they'll put a rubber duck next to a skull and somehow make it work. The point is, an altar is not about rules. It's about relationship. Now, how does one set up an altar without losing thy mind? Well, strategically, of course. Start with the surface. Yeah, that's it. It could be a table, a shelf, a dresser, a windowsill, the top of the washing machine if that's all you have. And then ask yourself, what am I honoring here? Is it the moon, your ancestors, a deity? Is it your own power? and let that answer be your guide to what you place there. And you don't need everything at once. In fact, please do not go out and drop $200 on tools. You don't need that. That's not witchcraft. That's retail therapy with a spooky hat. Just start simple. A candle, something natural, something personal. And build it slowly. Like trust. Now we're at the fun part. We're talking about the tools. The things that make you feel like you've stepped into your power. Even if you're still Googling, what does this do again? Let's begin with the athame. The athame is a ceremonial blade. Traditionally is double-edged, usually not used to cut anything physical. This isn't like a kitchen knife or anything, unless that's all you have. Think of it more as an energetic scalpel. That's not very sharp. It just directs energy. It casts circles. It draws boundaries. Historically, it probably evolved from ritual blades used in ceremonial magic traditions, later adopted into Wicca and modern pagan practices. It's often associated with fire or air, depending on the tradition, and let's be honest, it feels pretty badass to hold. But remember, it's not about the blade. It's about your will moving through it. It's about the magic flowing through you into it. Then we have the chalice, or the goblet. The chalice is the womb, it's the vessel, the sacred container. It represents water, intuition, the feminine, the receptive. You'll often see it right along with the athame in a symbolic union of creation, balance, and polarity. Historically, though, it echoes ancient ritual cups used in offerings, also for libations and sacred rites across countless cultures. You can use it to hold water, wine, herbs, or nothing at all. Sometimes the emptiness is the point. Move into candles. Yeah, the gateway drug of witchcraft. Candles are fire made manageable. The representation is transformation, intention, and illumination. Different colored candles carry different associations. White for purity, black for protection, red for passion. But don't get paralyzed by color charts. A white candle can do just about anything if your intention is clear. And lighting a candle is one of the simplest, oldest acts of magic there is. It says, I am beginning something. And when you blow it out, that's closure. That's completion. Kind of like magical bookends for your ritual or spell. We can't forget about the bell. It's so underrated. Criminally underrated, to be honest. A bell is used to clear energy, to mark transitions, to call attention from the unseen. Sound carries. It cuts through the stagnant energy like a knife through, whatever energetic gunk you got lying around. Historically, bells have been used in spiritual practices worldwide, from temples to churches to folk magic. And it wards off negativity and invites presence. Plus, there's something deeply satisfying about ringing a bell and feeling like you just told the universe to pay attention. And then we have the wand. Not Harry Potter's wand, but kind of the same principle. The wand is direction. It's projection. It's your intention extended outward. Unlike the athame, which can feel kind of sharp and decisive, a wand is more fluid. It channels energy rather than slicing through it. Traditionally, it's made of wood, often from a specific tree with symbolic meaning, though honestly, if you find a stick while you're out on a walk and it feels right, well, congratulations, you have been chosen. Now it's time to acquaint yourself with the pentacle. The pentacle is usually a disc with a 5-pointed star, representing the elements in all their harmony. This is your grounding tool. It's your earth anchor. It's often used as a base for charging objects, holding offerings, or stabilizing energy. The pentacle has roots in ancient symbolism long before modern paganism, representing balance and interconnectedness. So let's not forget cauldrons. Cauldrons scream transformation and rebirth. Usually when you put something into the cauldron, you are changing it. You're creating something new. You're transforming something. The cauldron is a versatile, sacred vessel, representing the womb of the goddess. Transformation and the elements of fire and water. We often use it for burning herbs, incense, petitions. We use it for making potions, crafting offerings. We can use it to scry or even just store your tools. Another great way to use your cauldron is to make moon water. You fill the cauldron with water and just place it under the full moon to charge. The main thing to take away about the cauldron is it's a vessel for transformation. And of course we have crystals, which whether you believe they have inherent energy or not, they do serve as a powerful focal point for intentions. Honestly, your tools can be anything. A spoon can be a wand, a coffee mug can be a chalice, your voice can be the most powerful tool you own. We can talk about the mortar and pestle. This one is practical as it is magical, which honestly, that's a sweet spot. On the surface, you're grinding herbs. It's simple, domestic, almost boring, but energetically, you're breaking something down to release its essence. You are transforming form. You are participating in alchemy on a very tangible level. And historically, this tool just shows up everywhere. From ancient herbalists to healers to kitchen witches to cunning folk to alchemists. It's tied to medicine, spellcraft, and survival. Every grind, every crush, every blend becomes an act of intention. You're not just making a mixture, you're building a spell layer by layer. And let's be honest, there's something deeply satisfying about putting your frustration into smashing herbs. Cheap therapy, highly recommended. Now let's move to the Book of Shadows. If you're feeling less formal, we'll call it your grimoire. This is your personal record, your magical journal, your log of, I tried this and it either worked beautifully or went completely sideways. Historically, grimoires were often formal texts of spells, correspondence, and rituals, sometimes guarded like family secrets. But your Book of Shadows, that's yours. It can be messy, it's going to be evolving, and it's sometimes coffee-stained. But it's where you track the moon phases, write down rituals, record your dreams, jot half-formed ideas down, and occasionally vent about that one spell that did not do what you asked, but definitely did something. This tool is less about power in the moment and more about growth over time. It becomes a mirror. You'll flip back through it months or years later and realize, damn, I've changed. Your magic has changed. And, well, isn't that the point? And then the hippie in me likes to talk about incense and smoke tools, because sometimes energy needs a good spiritual airing out. Incense has been used across cultures for thousands of years, from temples to sacred rites to, yes, your living room when something feels off and you really can't explain why. Smoke carries intention. It moves. It lingers. It shifts the atmosphere in a way that's both physical and energetic. Whether you're using incense sticks, loose herbs, or sage, the act is the same. You're cleansing, you're blessing, you're resetting. It's the magical equivalent of opening a window and saying, all right, whatever weird energy's in here, you can get the hell out. And finally, let's talk about chords and knot magic. This one feels kind of subtle until you realize how powerful it can be. Chord magic is about binding intention into something physical through repetition and focus. Every knot is a statement. Every twist is a decision. The practice goes back through various folk traditions, where people would tie knots to hold spells, protection, luck, even weatherworking. Sailors, witches, everyday people, they all understood the power of weaving intention into something that you can physically hold. You can wear it, keep it on your altar, tuck it away somewhere private. It becomes a quiet, steady hum of whatever you've placed into it. It's not flashy magic, it's patient magic. The kind that sits there and waits and works in the background while you go about your life. And that's really the thing about all these tools. None of them are inherently magical on their own. They become magical because of you, because of your attention, your repetition, your belief, your stubborn refusal to let the mundane just be mundane. Your altar's not a museum. It's a workplace, a living, breathing reflection of where you are on your path. So if it's a little chaotic, well, good. That means something real is happening there. So now we're going to move on to the part that makes a few people just a little bit uncomfortable. We're talking about offerings. Because at some point, you're going to realize that this isn't just about taking. It's about giving back. Offerings are an act of deep respect. It's relationship building. And you're not bribing a deity. You're not paying off the fae like some sort of cosmic mob boss. You're just saying, I see you, I'm honoring you, and I'm willing to give back and not just ask from you all the time. Different beings have different preferences. Deities often appreciate things aligned with their nature. A love goddess might enjoy some flowers, some perfume, some honey. So as if on cue, it is starting to rain really hard here. So if you hear this in the background, I do apologize. But as I was saying, so before I continue, offerings don't have to be food. They can be something shiny, like a physical object. It can be an act, something that you do, as long as you're dedicating it to your chosen deity or whoever you're honoring. Different beings have different preferences. A love goddess might enjoy the sweet things that remind you something romantic, flowers, perfume, chocolates. A war deity might appreciate something like iron, or a strong, stiff drink, or even acts of courage. If you are honoring your ancestors, leave out food they love, or photos, or memories and stories, or something that you can reminisce with them about. And then the Fae. The Fae will absolutely accept your offerings and still cause mild chaos just to keep things interesting. They tend to like milk and honey and bread. And from personal experience, they like Nutella as well. But they also like shiny objects. And they like little homemade things that you make with your heart. Why do we do this? Why offerings matter? Because offerings ground your practice in humility. They remind you that you're part of something larger. That magic is not just about bending reality to your will. It's about participating in it. Offerings, well, they help build consistency as well, and devotion, and presence, and sometimes they help you feel a little less alone. You give a little gift of thanks. You're drawing your strength, your wisdom, your guidance from either your ancestors, your deity, from the Fae, whoever that you're reaching out to. It's just your way of saying thank you. And think of it like this. If you're on, let's say, a nature high, don't you want to share that? Don't you just want to talk about it with a friend? Think of offerings as your magical drinking buddy. So through time, your altar is going to change. Your tools will evolve and your understanding will deepen. You're going to outgrow things, but you're going to return back to things. And you're going to have days where everything feels very powerful and aligned. But you're also going to have days where you stare at your altar like, what am I even doing? But don't worry, that's part of it. Magic is not about perfection. It's about practice. Now, it's time for question and answers. During this segment of the podcast, this is where I answer your questions. Today's question comes from one of our listeners. It says, "Hi, Anonymous Crone. You can call me Rowan. I've been building my altar very slowly, but I'm learning as I go. I keep getting stuck on offerings. I see that people leave food, herbs, crystals, even drinks for deities or spirits. So I guess my question is, how do I know what to offer? I'm worried I'm doing it wrong, or that what I give isn't good enough. Is there a right way or a wrong way to make offerings, or is it more intuitive? And what do you actually do with the offerings afterwards? Thank you, and I adore your podcast. It feels like sitting around a fire with someone who just gets it. Have a blessed day, Rowan." Well, hi, Rowan. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for sending in this question. This is one of those questions that nearly every witch has asked at some point, usually while staring at a perfectly nice apple, wondering if it's spiritually impressive enough. Let me ease your mind right away. There is no cosmic grading system for offerings. No deity is sitting over there with a clipboard saying, store-bought bread? Points deducted. Nah, offerings, like so many aspects of our craft, are not about perfection, but about relationship. It's the thought and intentions that count. So try thinking of it this way. If you were inviting a friend over, you wouldn't be panicked about creating the most extravagant 5-course meal, unless that's just your love language. Sometimes, though, you do offer coffee. Sometimes you offer a little snack. But sometimes you just offer your presence and your attention. The sacred works very much the same way. How do you know what to offer? Start with these 3 simple steps: tradition, intuition, and observation. Tradition is where you can research it. Many deities and spirits have long-standing associations, like honey, wine, bread, milk, herbs, flowers, etc. If you're working with a specific deity, look into what has historically been offered to them. It's like learning somebody's favorite food before you cook for them. And then there's intuition. That's your inner whisper. That little nudge that says, I bet they would like this. And yes, I know, right behind that whisper always comes doubt, saying, but maybe I'm just making that up. Welcome to witchcraft, my love. That's the dance. The more you practice listening, the clearer it becomes. And then there's observation. This one is pretty underrated. This one is just paying attention to what happens after you give an offering. Does the space feel warmer, calmer, charged? Do you feel acknowledged in some subtle way? Offerings are conversations, not really transactions. Let's address the fear of not good enough. That fear usually doesn't come from the spirits. It comes from us. It comes from that little voice inside of us. From a world that taught us that everything has to be earned, measured, and proven. But sacred relationships aren't built on scarcity. A simple glass of water, given with intention and respect, can be more meaningful than an elaborate spread given with anxiety. And what do you do with the offerings afterward? Yeah, nobody really talks about that until you're staring at a slightly sad piece of bread 3 days later with a little mold growing on top of it. For food and drink offerings, you do have a few options. You can return them to earth, leave them outside for nature, you can compost them or bury them. Just dispose of them respectfully. Some traditions allow you to actually consume the offering after it's been blessed and given, seeing it as sharing the energy. The key is intention and respect, not rigid rules. The non-perishable offerings, like crystals and trinkets or objects, can remain on your altar as long as they feel right. They become part of your relationship. It's a little anchor of energy. But the truth behind it all, Rowan, offerings are not about impressing the deity. It's about opening your hands instead of clenching them. You're not trying to be good enough. You're practicing being present enough. So next time you stand at your altar, don't ask, is this right? Ask, is this sincere? Thank you, Rowan, and I hope my answer helps. And if any of you out there have any questions, comments, or 3 a.m. thoughts, please email me at acronepodcast@gmail.com. And now we're at today's guest spot. And I'm so excited because I get to introduce a really good friend of mine. I said, hey, so I'm excited. I just finished writing this episode, and I told him the title of this episode. And he goes, I would love to be a guest spot on there. And he sends me this, and it's amazing. It corroborates everything that I hold dear, and this is why we're friends. But without further ado, here is Druid KT.
When it comes to my altar and the magical tools I place there, I see potential and intention. It's a space where I bring together pieces of the past and things meant for the future. In a way, it becomes a reflection of the world around us. I usually keep a bowl of water on one side and a bowl of salt on the other. I'll have a few candles, sometimes colorful, sometimes just black and white, depending on the work. I keep my crystals close, along with my pendulum. Overall, it's a simple setup, it's fluid, and it changes often. More than anything, it's my space to focus, a place where intention becomes something tangible. It's far from perfect, and it definitely doesn't match the polished look you might see in movies, but it's mine, and it works. If I had to choose a favorite tool, it would be my sound tools. I often use tuning forks or a singing bowl in my practice. There's something about vibration that feels foundational. Before words, before thought, there's frequency. When I work with sound, it doesn't feel like I'm forcing anything. It feels more like I'm tuning into something that's already there. As for offerings, whether it's to the spirits, the fae, or whatever you want to call the unseen, I keep it simple and respectful. Water and salt are always nearby. Sometimes I'll leave something natural, like a bit of dirt, sand, or even grass. Maybe even flowers. It doesn't have to be elaborate. What matters is the intention behind it. It's really about acknowledgement. A quiet way of saying, I see you, I respect this space, and I'm not just passing through without awareness. I'm not a rigid practitioner, and I don't follow strict rules. For me, this is more of a relationship, something that grows and shifts over time. Some days it feels very present, other days it's quieter. But even in the quiet, something is still happening beneath the surface. From the beginning of the day till the end, whether it's an altar, a tool, or an offering, it all comes back to awareness. Taking a moment to pause, to focus, and to connect with something beyond the everyday rhythm. That's where I see shift happening.
And that was Druid KT. Thank you so much for sending that in. And if any of you out there would like the guest spot for a future episode, please email me at acronepodcast@gmail.com. And now, as always, we end with the Crone's blessing. May your altar hold what your spirit needs, not borrowed dreams or gilded creeds. May flame and shadow both feel true, and every tool awaken within you. May what you give in return in kind, in subtle shift or quiet mind, and should the fae come passing through, may they be kind, or at least kinder, to you. As we close the circle, may your tools be ever charged with intention, and your offerings given with open, grateful hearts. Remember, it's not the price tag of the item, but the sincerity of the spirit that makes your magic real. Until we meet again, merry meet, merry part, merry meet again. See you next week here at Anonymous Crone.